Breaking news from WRAL. Coverage you can count on.
Good evening. We are staying on top of breaking news at 6. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Julian Grace. Well, a teenage boy was shot in broad daylight. That's according to Durham police. They say the shooting happened on North Holman Street shortly after 1 o'clock this afternoon. Investigators are on the scene right now trying to figure out what exactly happened. And that's where WRAL's Heidi Kirk joins us live now. And Heidi, what are you learning about on the scene there?
Well, Julian, just within the last few minutes, we learned that this was a 16-year-old boy. In fact, just within the last 2 minutes or so, we spoke with family members who are arriving here on scene. But I'm going to go ahead and step out of the way and have my photographer give you a look at the focus of this investigation. Now, you can see this home, lots of crime scene tape out here as we speak. We have crime scene investigations here, forensics, the Durham Police Department. This is a very active investigation. Now, we got an update from Durham police officers that they responded here to the 300 block of Holman Street around 1:06 to reports of shots fired. Now, that 16-year-old boy was transported to a local hospital and was pronounced dead a short time later. Now, the important thing to note here is this is a very ongoing investigation. Again, this just happened within the last few hours or so. But what they do tell us is they believe this is an isolated incident, so there was no threat to anyone's safety in this area. Now, when I spoke with family just within the last few minutes, what they tell me is that this is a very beloved young boy. I spoke with the young boy's cousin, saying that he's really just taking this in here in this moment. Obviously, something that we're going to be looking into and bringing you live updates as the evening goes on. Heidi Kirk, WRAL News, live in Durham.
Heartbreaking. One man was killed and another person was injured in an armed robbery at a Harnett County gas station Saturday night. The Harnett County Sheriff's Office says it got the call just after 11:15 last night from the Marathon gas station at the corner of Highway 87 and Broadway Road. WRAL's Eric Miller breaks down what happened.
It took barely more than a minute for an armed robbery inside this Harnett County gas station to take a violent and tragic turn. Security video shared by a gas station employees shows a man dressed head to toe in black enter the store just after 11 p.m. Saturday. The man wanders around behind the counter, a gun clearly visible in his hand. The clerk, identified by the Harnett County Sheriff's Office as 50-year-old Alfredo Mares, moves out of the way. Then, in a flash of violence, the robber goes up to a customer standing in front of the counter and hits that customer with the gun. You see the robber's hand frozen here, mid-swing. Out of respect for the victim's family, we're not showing what happens next. The gun appears to fire. Mares collapses behind the counter, and then the robber runs out of the store. The Harnett County Sheriff's Office is now searching for this man. They're asking anyone with information to come forward. In Harnett County, Eric Miller, WRAL News.
Police will need that critical tip. Well, our WRAL Weather Alert Day is still in effect this evening as our risk for storms sticks around. Meteorologist Anthony Baglione is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with a look at the radar right now. Anthony.
Julian, a lot of locations today have thankfully been pretty quiet, but our southeastern counties right now, far southeastern counties, talking about some showers and thunderstorms, relatively limited coverage. But I want to start with this, and then we'll talk about through the rest of this evening, because we do have one lone severe thunderstorm warning for our viewing area, far southern portions of Sampson County. You can see definitely some lightning. There's some very heavy rainfall showing up right there. There is Garland. Again, far southern Sampson County. We take a zoomed in view for you right there. Right around, let's say, Kerr to the west, Newton's Crossroads. This is kind of pushing up in your direction. That warning expires at 6:45. So a little bit longer here with that we'll continue to track. Futurecast is doing a decent job of showing at least some spotty showers and thunderstorms to our southeast. We may continue that coverage, though, and fill in just a little bit closer to about 9 or 10 o'clock. That pushes on through, and then we settle down through tonight, and it will actually be potentially a foggy start for some of us tomorrow morning, Julian. There's 7 o'clock looking really good, but temperature's actually going to go down a little bit for us into parts of our week. We'll talk about when that happens here coming up in a few minutes.
Thanks, Anthony. 2 adults and 1 juvenile were shot at a house party on Mackinac Island Lane. We are told all 3 victims suffered non-life-threatening injuries. So far, there are no arrests. We're working to learn more about any suspects in the case. Homeowners in another Raleigh neighborhood were rattled by the sound of gunshots during a large party at a rental home overnight. This happened around 1 a.m. at a house on Bickett Boulevard near East Roanoke Park Drive, near the city's Five Points area. Neighbors shared this video that you're looking at right here of a large police presence and response shortly after the shots rang out. Now, neighbors also showed us pictures of the crime scene tape, and also officers put all that around the area as they investigated. There were also shell casings with markers by them. One neighbor's Ring doorbell video captured the moment someone fired the shots. Take a listen right here. That has to be so frightening for those that call that community home. You can also see a couple of young people running away. We reached out to the Raleigh Police Department. They tell us no one was shot there. However, one girl was taken to the hospital with minor injuries she sustained while running away. People who live nearby told WRAL they have spoke with the rental homeowner. They say there needs to be a better vetting process for the short-term renters to make sure something like this doesn't happen again. A person was shot and killed in Fayetteville. Fayetteville police say it happened on Barron's Landing Place shortly before 10:30 this morning. Police say the victim was shot multiple times in their chest. We're working to learn more about what led up to the shooting and information about possible suspects. A passenger died in a Sampson County car crash after troopers say they were not wearing a seatbelt. The crash happened on Suttontown Road shortly before midnight last night. State Highway Patrol says only one car was involved in the crash. They say the driver went over the center line, overcorrected, and ran off the road into a ditch. The car collided and rolled and ejected a passenger who was not wearing a seatbelt. That person died on the scene. The driver was wearing her seatbelt and was taken to the hospital to be treated for her injuries. Troopers say charges are pending for the driver. One of the most prominent voices who call for independent investigation and testing of NC State's Pole Hall has died of cancer. Darren Major was one of the more than 200 people who worked or studied in Pole Hall and later developed cancer. NC State closed Pole Hall in 2023 after testing revealed cancer-causing chemicals throughout the building. Last spring, Major successfully fought for the right to gain access into Pole Hall and conduct testing independent of the university. He was 58. WRAL has been covering Pole Hall extensively. You can read more at WRAL.com. Search Pole Hall. A firefighter killed in a mudslide in western North Carolina during Helene was honored today. The 2025 National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Service took place in Maryland. Tony Garrison served as a battalion chief with the Fairview Fire Department and as a firefighter with the Guerin Creek Fire Department, both in Buncombe County. He was one of 70 firefighters who died in 2024 that was honored. 70 other firefighters who died in previous years were also recognized today.
Behind every firefighter we honor today is a family, a circle of friends, and a department that's been forever changed. You are not alone. Today, you join a strong and compassionate community built on shared experience and strength and supported with care and intention.
What a sacrifice. Also among those today honored was Raleigh Fire Captain Nathan Burgess. He died in 2023 after a battle with cancer. Occupational cancer is the leading cause of death for firefighters. Burgess' wife, Christy Burgess, started the organization, the Phoenix Project. Her goal is to remind and educate firefighters on how they can lower their exposure to hazardous materials. Security vulnerabilities in PowerSchool, undetectable by North Carolina or school leaders. Earlier this year, WRAL told you about a hacker who stole data from the student information system. Since then, we've learned PowerSchool paid a ransom and watched the hacker delete the data in a video. That data included social security numbers and other personal data like addresses and grades. State officials say annual reviews didn't detect any security flaws with PowerSchool or its contractors. One parent says her trust is broken with school leaders.
There's no way that they could give me that security because they've completely lost all of my trust. What they can do going forward, don't ask for anything personal like that.
All right, who's protecting your children's data? We'll have more on that. Our months-long investigation into PowerSchool data breach tomorrow at 6 p.m. We have an update tonight about UNC head football coach Bill Belichick after he faced a fallout from a recent interview. You may recall all of this. NBC reports Belichick has been talking to at least one experienced PR specialist in hopes of boosting his book tour and possibly the Carolina football team program. Sources say Belichick has been talking with former Bears VP of Communications, Brandon Faber. He could also be using some more PR help as well. Belichick faced a week of scrutiny regarding his recent CBS interview, which ultimately included his girlfriend, Jordan Hudson. Hudson interrupted when the reporter asked Belichick how the couple met. In a statement, Belichick said she was not deflecting any specific question or topic, but simply doing her job to ensure the interview stayed on track. However, CBS has said there were no preconditions or limitations set before that conversation. Pat Welter will have more on the Belichick saga coming up later in sports. Real ID, crunch time. The deadline to get it is Wednesday. What happens if you don't? And how some states are now pushing back against that cutoff date. Also, tomato recall alert. The issue with some popular produce sold right here in North Carolina. The countdown is on. The deadline to have the Real ID to travel on domestic flights is less than 3 days away. Wednesday of this week. Can you believe that? The program has already had delay after delay for nearly 2 decades. Some states are pushing back. Kentucky has asked for a delay, saying only 40% of its residents have a Real ID. In Maine, lawmakers want to opt out entirely. 5 on Your Side has been tracking the DMV's handling of the Real ID process right here in North Carolina. About 50% of the people in the state have a Real ID. The state DMV has opened extended hours at more than 75% of its offices and will have walk-in hours this summer on Saturdays. A big change for thousands of student loan borrowers in North Carolina. The U.S. Department of Education will restart collecting federal student loans in default tomorrow. It will end a roughly 5-year-long pandemic-era pause. Student loans go into default after 270 days without payment. Well, it's time to check your kitchen because we have a recall alert this evening. Fresh tomatoes are being recalled in 3 states, including in North Carolina. The FDA says tomatoes from H&C Farms may have been contaminated with salmonella. The affected tomatoes sold at wholesalers and distributors in North Carolina, Georgia, and South Carolina. They were distributed between April 23rd and April 28th. Now, if you bought these tomatoes, please do not eat them. Return them to where you bought them for a full refund or just throw them out. So far, no illnesses have been reported connected to these tomatoes. All right, you've been warned. Anthony, great day.
Yeah.
That rain went away. It was a little scary at first.
I was going to say, I walked outside this morning. I sat on my patio actually for a little bit, and I had on a shirt, Julian, that like a polo, and it was actually a little bit cool. I had to go back inside and warm up a little bit. We managed to salvage our day, though, thankfully. But I want to start us off with radar because there's a few spotty storms out there right now. Not a lot of coverage, but we may still see a little bit of this through the rest of this evening. But all in all, yeah, through the rest of our viewing area, we've seen some sunshine. We managed to kind of have a nice rest of our Sunday afternoon. We get us over, though, to radar. You can see there's a boundary, a cold front that's situated kind of right where you can see those pushing up from the southwest to the northeast. That's going to be the focus for these showers and thunderstorms over the next little while. There is a severe thunderstorm warning for the far southern portions of Sampson County. That's going to continue to the northeast here over the next little while, but that goes until about 6:45. It has moved through Kerr and again continues to push up to the northeast at about 25 miles an hour or so. The rest of us, many of us, dealing with this picture. Beautiful out there. Our Pinehurst camera, some of those kind of high-level clouds filtering on through. Really, really nice picture right there, and we may continue to keep that, though, at least for the next little while before we start to see the chance for some more rain this evening. 70 currently in Roxborough. We're at 76 around the Triangle, 73 there in Clinton. We're right about 71 in Goldsboro, 71 also in South Hill. Our temperature is relatively warm, decently comfortable, I would say. But we put Futurecast into motion. You can see it's doing an okay job of showing what we call initializing pretty well. But you see, we're not seeing that cell right there close to Raleigh, so it's off just a little bit. But nonetheless, we go through this evening. It's painting that picture for a few more storms for, let's say, Fayetteville, Goldsboro, mainly southeast of the Triangle. We continue that coverage. Some of those may get a little bit closer to us in Raleigh. Our western counties are going to be totally dry here through this evening. And then all of us start to dry out as we get through late tonight, early tomorrow morning. There may be a little bit of fog actually to start us off for our Monday. That's likely what Futurecast is picking up on instead of cloud cover right there. That may start us off, and then it's a day where we have, again, the potential for some storms. This front is going to sit right over top of us, and during the lunchtime hour, even through the afternoon, some of those could be a little bit stronger, but we're not under a severe risk for us tomorrow. They'll continue there out of our viewing area. There's a sliver of our northeastern counties that are included in this level 1 risk. Again, some spotty storms with some gusty winds possible tomorrow. It doesn't look like a big severe risk, but I will say, as opposed to today where the ingredients really are relatively lacking, it wouldn't surprise me if they push that severe risk a little bit closer to us just with some more fuel in place tomorrow. So that's something we'll watch. Otherwise, relatively calm tonight, 58 degrees. That's going to be the wake-up call tomorrow morning in Raleigh, 54 in Roxborough. You may want a light jacket actually to start tomorrow morning. The day itself, a little bit cooler with some of those rain chances. 78, we go to 81 on Tuesday. 80 on Wednesday there, Julian. 81 on Thursday, pretty consistent. But then some of us may struggle to get out of the upper 60s and low 70s into next weekend.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Look who's here with me, Pat. Let's talk about the Canes.
Yeah, it's kind of the calm before the storm now. Coming up next, I'll tell you why the season starts now for the Hurricanes and what to make of all this Bill Belichick, Jordan Hudson drama. I'll give you my take after the break.
All right, thank you, Pat. We still have more to talk about. Now, here are Renee and Jeff with a look at what we're working on for WRAL News tomorrow morning.
Elizabeth Gardner will be tracking some lingering storms to start our work week. Will they last into our morning commute? Ken Smith will have a look at traffic every 10 minutes.
Plus, the REAL ID deadline is this week. 5 on Your Side explains what you need to know to get one and what happens if you don't have one. Start your work week with us, beginning at 4:30.
Not only is Freddie Anderson healthy, he's home. A long way where we were a few days ago after he got injured Game 4 in New Jersey. Freddie getting a new $2.75 million contract extension. Feels like he has more to give as a player and as mentor.
Obviously, the last couple of years have had some bumps in the road in terms of staying healthy, but just continuing controlling what I can do to be in the net as much as possible and have that feeling of confidence that I can still help a team, both when I'm playing and obviously help Piotr in ways and continuing his development. That's what excites me about having this done and being able to be around next year too.
All signs point to Freddie starting Game 1 at the Capitals. 7 straight years the Canes have made the second round of the postseason. It's become the expectation, but that doesn't mean they treat it any different.
I think you start every series as a new one. I think it's a different team, different battle. I mean, New Jersey put up a really good fight, and they're a great team, so to get past them was awesome. And just kind of reset and refresh and just come ready for Washington whenever we play them.
Canes Capitals Tuesday at 7. Full schedule up on WRALSportsFan.com. Michael Jordan is officially not the most famous Jordan in America. Michael B. Jordan's Sinners is the #1 movie at the box office. Highly recommend. Jordan Hudson is the #1 story in sports and entertainment news. Now, I'm not the first to make this joke. Here's the new logo. North Carolina, a Jordan brand school.
Not talking about this.
No. This story boiled over after last weekend's CBS News Sunday morning interview. Social media exploded, and now Hudson is the lead of every entertainment outlet in the country. In a vacuum, interrupting this interview doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it's part of a greater whole. Bill Belichick built his career on no distractions. This has become a giant one.
I didn't come here to leave.
At Belichick's opening press conference, Hudson was there, but in the background. She didn't do interviews. She didn't make the day about herself. I figured given the 49-year age gap, they'd probably like to keep it that way. It has been the opposite since. Hudson was with Belichick in their Super Bowl commercial. She stole the red carpet at the NFL Honors. She was on the field for Carolina's Practice Like a Pro event. According to emails obtained by The Athletic, she's copied on all emails sent to Belichick and is involved in the program's social media and PR strategy. Okay, they want to spend time together at work. She's 24, social media and PR strategy are her wheelhouse. Fine, but maybe the most alarming revelation is from Realtor.com. Hudson has been piecing together a New England real estate profile worth $8 million since 2023. Belichick and Hudson met on a flight to Palm Beach in 2021. The couple's romantic relationship went public in June of 2024. We don't know that's Bill's money, but it seems like a lot. Look, Hudson can do whatever she wants, so can Bill. He's supporting his girlfriend's career ambitions, and he's employing his 2 sons. The problem is it's coming at the expense of UNC. And Carolina hired Belichick because they wanted to get serious about football. I don't think being the butt of every late-night talk show joke is what they had in mind. Now, the movie Sinners starts as one thing, becomes a vampire movie halfway through. Chapel Bill, that's still a love story, but the honeymoon is clearly over, and I'm afraid of the plot twist. Julian?
Yeah, you know, Pat, you made a really interesting point that Bill Belichick has stayed away from distractions, and this appears to be one for him right now.
Yeah, you know, you and I were talking about this earlier because I feel like everyone in the country is. You know, this is a guy that's built his career on not having distractions. This appears to be a lack of judgment or a lack of control. So it's interesting we had that other headline about him seeking some outside PR help.
It'll be interesting how this all plays out. Pat, always providing perspective. Appreciate you, man. Well, thanks for joining us. NBC Nightly News is next. We'll have another half hour of WRAL News at 11. Until then, have a good evening. We'll see you later.